They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it certainly can be. In some instances, it is worth a whole lot more. Photos provide an opportunity to take a look at the past and explore parts of our history we may have never known about otherwise. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 interesting photos to see what information they can unveil. The Pompeii Man and the Stone. First off is a photograph that holds a terrifying truth about what happened to a man in Pompeii in 79 AD. The man was found during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and appeared to be crushed by a large boulder. The body was unearthed in May 2018 by the Pompeii Archaeological Park and discovered that his death was most likely due to asphyxiation due to the pyroclastic flow from the volcano rather than the boulder. During the eruption of Vesuvius nearly 2,000 years ago, it did not spew lava, but instead it blew a large column of rock and ash. The pyroclastic flows followed down the mountain the next day, wiping out anything in its path. It is similar to a hurricane-force wind that could destroy anything in its way. It happens when the volcano boils over and fuels the deadly gas, ash, and rock down the side of the volcano. A photo depicts the man under what looks like a large boulder, but after further investigation from experts, they realized that the photo is not exactly as it seems. It appeared as if the stone had severed the man's body and thought the rest would be beneath the stone. While the boulder may have in fact crushed the man, researchers believe that he would have lost his life long before that. Further research led to experts coming to realize that the site had been missing upper limbs, skulls, and the thorax, which could only lead to one plausible explanation: asphyxiation. Archaeologists also took a look at the tunnel below the body and discovered that it dated back to the Bourbon era of the 1700s and 1800s, which had caved in, causing part of the skeleton to fall away. Since discovering the man's remains, experts have also found parts of a small purse that the man was said to have clutched close to his chest. It contained 20 silver and 2 bronze coins that would have been enough to provide for a family of 3 for 2 weeks at that period of time. Researchers were also able to determine a rough age for the man. They believe he would have been at least 30 years old and also examined the lesions on the tibia, pointing to signs of bone infection that probably resulted in a limp, which would have affected his attempt to escape the volcano. Whilst we do not know all of the details, the photo was able to help experts uncover more information and dive deeper into the life of this mysterious man. What do you think happened to him? The giant skull pile photo shows why bison almost went extinct. Our next interesting photo tells a story about American history through a bison. A photo that was taken in 1870 depicts a large pile of bison skulls with a man standing on the top. Whilst that alone is frightening, the skulls were to be ground into fertilizer. This points to a large number of American settlers from centuries ago that massacred the species. In 2016, the US House of Representatives and the Senate passed a bill to honor the bison, as they are the national mammal of the United States. Back in the day, there were as many as 60 million bison roaming the United States. They would be used to provide food, clothing, shelter, and fuel to many Americans. Native Americans to this day still consider the bison as a sacred animal and look back on its history and give thanks. As settlers came to the United States in the 19th century, they slaughtered around 50 million bison. Some were used for food, while others were killed for sport. They started to disappear rapidly, and by 1900, there were less than 1,000 bison left in North America. The railroad industry was also involved in the disappearance of bison herds. They were known to damage locomotives when trains were unable to stop in time, and herds could delay a train for days at a time or even ruin the engine. At the time, the railroads would hire marksmen to sit atop the trains and shoot the bison as they passed by. For a while, the United States Army even sanctioned and endorsed the wholesale slaughter of bison herds for many reasons. Some being that it would allow ranchers to ranch their cattle without competition, and it would weaken the North American Indian population. In order to escape extinction, ranchers, conservationists, tribes, and politicians worked to keep the bison alive and well on American soil. Currently, there are about 500,000 bison living on non-public lands and about 30,000 on public lands that are controlled by the government. Did you know that bison were close to extinction at one point? If we didn't have a photo of the bison skulls, would we know the history behind it? It's difficult to say, but one thing's for sure, it's a good thing we stopped them from becoming extinct. James Dean's Porsche. Our last interesting photo is of James Dean's Porsche. The late actor passed away in 1955 when he was 24 years old and driving in California. He was in a Porsche 550 Spider and collided with a 1950 Ford Tudor, which was driven by a Navy veteran. While Dean was unable to survive the accident, his mechanic, Rolf Wotherich, was coming out on the other side alive and well. After the accident, there were many photos taken to be presented in court. There were 12 overhead views of the intersection and 18 ground-level photos, 9 of which were close-ups. 6 of the photos had inside and outside view of the Porsche that showed his racing number 130. When looking at the photos, Wotherich versus Turnip Seed Dean Coulter was written in pencil. It referred to Wotherich's attempt to sue the insurance companies for the double fractured jaw and torn left hip that left him to undergo multiple surgeries. Nothing came of the legal proceedings, and eventually, Wotherich returned to Germany in 1957. Also in the photos was a signed letter from Robert A. Coyle, who was the son of Robert Everett Coyle, who was an attorney for the Turnip Seed and his insurance company. The car went on to be sold for $5,335,000 at an auction, as it was sought after by many high-end collectors. Whilst the previous owner was a famous actor, that is not why it sold for so much. It was due to the unique story behind the death. Many believed the car to be cursed. The moment Dean bought it, he experienced problems with it. Many people also warned him about buying the car, one being Alec Guinness, who said that he'd be dead within a week if he drove that Porsche. What is most eerie about the story is that he died exactly 7 days after having that conversation and 2 hours after he got a speeding ticket whilst driving the car. Do you think that the car was cursed, or was it simply an accident? But what do you make of these 3 photos and their uncovered stories? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.